Oh my god, it's a part two of the Warhammer episode. We totally didn't set this. I don't even know. Bad at intros. Jake, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm just looking for that Guyvin Jivin thing, boy.
You're not gonna get me to watch Guyver. Connor, how are
I
you doing?
will.
Is it the new MacGyver or the old MacGyver?
No, not
No, Guyver.
MacGyver. Guyver. It's a Japanese live action show thing.
No, it's the American adaptation of the anime slash the manga because this was made in '90. Well, no, there was an OVA series that came out in the '80s. So yeah, of the anime slash manga.
Okay, well, I would absolutely watch Japanese MacGyver, but I'm doing great.
Fantastic. So this is our continuous breakdown of the Warhammer TV shows. And last we stopped, we were just after the Space Wolves episode, if I remember correctly.
Yep. Or
Yes.
last time that we were talking, yes.
Let me quickly. What was the episode after that? Quickly pull up
Was
Hammer.
it the one where there's the tech priest going around?
I fucking love that episode. That's the
Yeah.
best performing episode on my channel.
Do. No, after Fangs, it was Question of Faith, the
Yeah,
Sisters of Death episode. Not Sisters of Battle episode.
battle.
Oh, it's just the battle episode's also pretty good. It's just I wish like I said, like we kept saying, I wish the animation was better because some of them action scenes could have been freaking amazing.
Yeah, that
Yeah, the. Sorry, go ahead, buddy.
that was definitely where the animation was so bad. I think it actually distracted me from the overall episode. You have corn cultists just actually hopping up and down.
Yeah, and then to concur, the plot is actually pretty solid. It follows like two sisters. They're in a sacred shrine. They get attacked. Do you mind if I kind of go all the way to the end? Do you mind if I
Yeah, you're
spoil it?
fine.
Yeah, so basically they're defending against chaos cultists, specifically corn cultists, who are like, blood for the blood god, which hearing them scream it was actually kind of cathartic for me. That was fun to watch. But then when they start charging in and start like trying to butcher the sisters or kill the sisters, um, there's some decent action, but the frames are so jumpy and there's so much cool action that gets abbreviated that it ends up being distracting from the piece. Ultimately, the sisters are like overwhelmed by the attacking forces, and then one of them becomes a living saint and obliterates the cornate cultists. But again, I felt like if instead of just having like a bright flash of white and then everybody is kind of obliterated away, if they actually had a well choreographed melee scene between the saint and the cultist, or the saint and a demon, that would have been phenomenal. Like I would still be ranting about it now, but they just skipped that for some reason. I think because it's too expensive or they're being lazy.
It has to be the lazy because the too expensive. I'll never buy it from
It's
Games
Games
Yeah.
Workshop.
Workshop. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the good news that I have for you guys is that the newer episode is Age of Sigmar, and it's actually animated properly.
Oh, the
Are you
one
talking?
that the you mean the monsters that I'm seeing here?
Yep, yep.
I
Monsters just dropped maybe a week or two ago, and the action scenes are fully animated.
Oh,
that's
we
nice.
didn't watch that. I was
Well,
unaware.
well,
Yeah.
that's because they're never announcing when these episodes drop. That's was the problem we were having with Interrogator. They were just like, oh yeah, there's 5 episodes. What are these episodes about? Then they're just quiet. It's like, oh, thanks. Do you know when more will come
They
out? Silence.
so so I saw Warhammer community post that like, oh, they were shooting for weekly, but that was too aggressive of a schedule, so they went to a fortnight. And I literally had to Google what like a fucking fortnight schedule was, and a fortnight schedule is every 3 weeks.
Oh,
They could have just
I thought
gone
a
for like
fortnight was 2 weeks. Never
Maybe it
mind.
is. I have no fucking idea. That's what they said on the website. That's what I Googled, and allegedly it's a fortnight schedule.
what is this Fort Knight you
Why wouldn't you
speak
just say
of?
every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks?
It's
What is this Brit Bogger bullshit?
on the eve of the morrow we shall release this episode.
Dude, that's pretty much what they said. But the point is, if it's every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks, at least we'll get relatively consistent content. And also, they have a backlog of things that they foreshadowed that I think should be high quality. Like they have the 3D animation of Age of Sigmar, which could just be a commercial similar to the Horus Heresy episode, or that could be like a full 3D animation. And either way, it should at least be 2 to 3 minutes of good violence.
I'm still not the biggest Sigmar fan, but I think that's just because I overall the tabletop still just sucks because I watched when I went to my local GW shop and watched people playing it. I was like, so you don't have a fight back phase when you're engaging in charges and stuff? I got very confused with it.
Yeah, I don't play Age of Sigmar, and to be honest, I like 40K way more than Fantasy. But I came to appreciate it a little bit with the Monsters episode because I felt like one, it was well animated. Two, I felt like it could get into the universe, and then three, they actually posed some interesting moral questions of the characters, where they made a chaos band of marauders. They're literally just like free folk who like roam the wilds. They made them have a compelling reason for being chaos. And I thought that was interesting because this is like that in the episode Artifacts are the first time that I've ever been shown a compelling reason for somebody to be chaos.
I actually
I,
that sounds very intriguing actually because that's kind of what disappointed me the most about Exodite was the like it had this compelling moral conversation between one of the youngest races and one of the oldest.
Yeah, that was never fleshed out or explained or explored.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Wait, was that when the Eldar brought him to the weird dimension?
Yeah.
Yeah, to the webway.
Yeah, they're kind of the Eldar is kind of doing like a moral lecture the entire show, but to no one in particular. But then they actually have a pseudo philosophical conversation between the Shasfrey and the Eldar in front of the webway portal. And but then all that happens is the Shasfrey gets thrown to Kamara, the Dark City, and the Eldar becomes a Harlequin. And that's all that, while those are cool things,
It's
why don't you slow it down and let it be explored a little bit instead of just throwing it on the screen?
yeah,
So
it's just like give the story room to breathe.
yeah, and
You don't understand the greater good.
actually, what was annoying was I had a bunch of players or Tau players and Tau enthusiasts in my comments because I was like, wouldn't it have been interesting to see the Tau lose their soldiers because they lost like most of the unit. And there was a unit that was sacrificed for them to try to complete the mission. And wouldn't it be interesting to see them kind of like struggle with the greater good temporarily to show that like Tau actually have complex emotions and they're not just stupid fish people? And basically, what I got in the comment section was like, well, they're stupid fish people, so don't project your morality onto them.
Well,
It's like,
if they're stupid fish people and can't melee, then what good are they?
I was about to say all the Imperium fanboys like myself came in. It's like so somebody that needs to be annihilated.
yeah, actually, that made me just saying that out loud made me feel better because now I can feel less bad when I kill Tau.
Yeah.
Now you're just
Yeah.
like, oh, they're stupid fish people and they don't have complex emotions. It's fine.
But
Don't
now,
worry,
now I'm
these
just
aren't people. Oh,
now now I'm just reminded of Kitten and TTS, like just going on a tirade about how much he hates the Tau.
this is not fucking canon.
But yeah, like, sorry, the what was the original precursor episode was the question of faith.
Yes, the
Um,
that was the episode we were on, and I don't mind a sisters episode because the sisters are insanely interesting as a concept because they're basically the church's private army since they're directly
right.
ordered by the ecclesiarchy.
Yeah, and do you guys know the lore behind them?
Yeah, I know how
I
they were started with Alicia Dominica and the. I know most of the order, like the Order of Our Martyred Lady, the Ebon Chalice.
Yeah, so for I guess for the uninitiated in the audience, basically there's the Age of Apostasy where the a guy takes over the Administratum and the Ecclesiarchy, which are two powerful bureaucracies within the Imperium, and he acts as like the de facto like ruler of the Imperium for a while, and the Space Marines just ignore it because they don't care about imperial politics. But he starts a civil war where people who don't want to bend to his rule because he's basically a tyrant he starts a civil war including space marines and he's bodyguarded by the daughters of the emperor who are like zealous cult followers of the emperor And so it culminates in a civil war. Eventually, the daughters are revealed to the emperor. The emperor convinces them to stop the war, and actually, it's one of the few times the emperor ever speaks since he was mortally wounded. And they basically kill the tyrant and restore some level of peace. There was a male army that the Gog Vandire was in charge of, and it was a part of the ecclesiarchy. So men at arms are banned from the church, and as a result, the Sisters of Battle, through a technical flub, are allowed to be the armed branch of the ecclesiarchy because they're women at arms.
Yeah, and they actually might be they're the most zealotous of the entire Imperium, considering they're directly under the ecclesiarchy.
Right,
they,
right.
and
Yeah.
I do wish we explored more of that aspect, because we got the concept of the living saint, and the only living saint that I knew at the time was Celestine, because she's like the main one right now.
All I know is that as a degenerate, they are battle waifus, and that is based.
No, games. Well, while Games Workshop sexualized them heavily when they started, they thankfully have brought that way the hell down.
That dude, the way they look now, it just only makes me more degenerate for them.
Stop.
They need to
Never.
they need to fix the faces though for the models. The faces are brutal. You got to buy third party bits for the faces.
Well, I'm just talking about in the artwork, from what I've
Oh,
seen
and the
anyway.
artwork, they're amazing. Yeah, I love Sisters art.
I love especially for the penitent engines and what's the Repentia?
Arcoflagellants. Oh, and the Repentia, yeah. Although they did make them less sexy now, which is that
Yes,
kind of
that's.
sucks.
Oh, I was gonna say that's a good thing.
Well, I don't know. This is this is kind of what we were talking about before the show. It's like these series are for like edgy teenage boys. You know what I'm saying? So if you make them less sexy, yeah, you have like a more like family vibe, and I guess that's good. But you should also cater to your market. So you shouldn't make them like, I don't know, potato sacks
Well,
either.
that's the thing I was more thinking of. Isn't even necessarily trying to make it more family friendly with the less sexuality. It's just more like understanding the brutality of war, and that not everybody is gonna look like an absolute supermodel.
Yeah, and I'm good with that, but I think I hate to talk positively about Age of Sigmar or whatever, but I think that they've incorporated females into the Stormcast, and the females in the Stormcast aren't sexy, but they are convincingly, female, right?
Right.
Whereas one of the sisters models looks like Terry Crews in a wig.
Well,
Listen,
yeah. It
Terry
also
Crews
doesn't
in a
help that.
wig is beautiful. How
It also
dare you?
doesn't help that GW is with their plastic faces. They are absolutely horrendous. Hence why
Mhm.
I never have a Space Marine without their helmet. Because I'm
Well,
like, I'm not
strong
painting that.
strong recommendation to check out the female Stormcast. They actually did really good jobs with the faces for female faces.
That's good.
Yeah, I just got to grab one more thing.
While he's working on that, the next episode was Garden of Ghosts. That was the Eldar episode.
Yeah, that was the elder. Oh, that episode was pretty good.
See, my problem is I literally know borderline nothing about the Eldar other than them murder fucking Slanesh into existence, and thus when it was time to explore them, I got the information that the episode needed, which was the soul stones and putting it into not the Wraith Knight. It's the step down from Wraith Knight, and it was the soul stone of the mother. Like, I got the
Mm-hmm.
story that it was immediately telling. In terms of either being faithful to the lore, I have no clue. Uh, Even that the idea that the Eldar could see and backwards in time.
What was that like? Would that is that all Eldar or like specific Eldar that could do that?
I'm not sure. I wonder if Connor knows anything about that.
I mean, I did feel the feels. That was it did feel the feels.
Yeah, it was a good example of. It was a very well written story. It wasn't necessarily animated poorly. It was middle of the road, kind of.
Yeah.
Which one?
Ghosts of Garden of Ghosts. I
I
know.
actually like Garden of the Ghosts. That is one of my favorite episodes. I actually I hated it at first because it came out relatively early, or at least I watched it relatively early, and it was frustrating for me because watching the Eldar and the Space Marines fight, I was like, that's what I want to see. Why am I watching this sad Eldar limp around a dead craft world? Like, let me see the fucking battle, right? But what ended up happening was there was a really touching narrative about Eldar loss
Mm-hmm.
that I liked a lot, and basically the story for me saved it past the animations. Although again, I do wish they had invested more.
Right. I know virtually nothing about the Eldar other than, of course, what they did to create Slanesh. Is that like a normal thing for Eldar to be able to walk into the past and just see what happened, or?
That character was particularly psychically sensitive. Somebody corrected me in the comments. I don't think he's a Farseer, but I think he's a part of the, whatever, like they have like different paths that they follow. I think he was following the Psyker path, and so he was particularly sensitive. So
Hmm.
the female ranger could not see what he was seeing.
But the not only could he see it, the Eldar commander person who kind of triggered the memory could also somewhat see it.
Yeah. But that's obviously like Eldar live. I think they're technically biologically immortal. So they live for thousands of years. So that guy, all Eldar have some psychic potential. So even if he couldn't see the full, well, he was also at the battle, so
Right.
he could have just been following the guy and kind of knowing that he was in a trance-like state, and just kind of speaking to him, knowing that he was seeing the battle. But that would be one way or the other. He was either slightly psychically sensitive, or he just knew the battle because he was there as a younger warrior.
We also it was the first time I'd ever seen an avatar of Kane, and I remember Slur uh, getting particularly excited about that because I knew virtually nothing about the avatar of Kane.
Yeah, and it's just like a shard of their god of death, So it's pretty cool, and I'm not like a huge Eldar fan, but obviously like if you wanted to play like a faction of Order, they would actually probably be a better faction of Order than the Imperium of Man, because the Imperium of Man is fucking savage and brutal. Um, but like the kind of the thing goes that like all of the Eldar gods are either dead or trapped or enslaved. So I think the only ones that are left is Cain is the god of war and blood. He's been shattered into a million pieces, and most craft worlds have a literal physical fragment of the god on board. And then the god of fertility and life is kidnapped by Nurgle, which is part of the reason why the Eldar are slow at propagating. And then the god of death, the Inari, they're trying to awake the Eldar god of death, Ynid, Ynnead, and so that's actually a new Eldar plotline where some Eldar leaders are trying to unite Dark Eldar and Craft World and Harlequin Eldar into a single faction and to create so much death and chaos that they wake up the Eldar god of death so he can wake up and fight Slanesh. And
Right.
that's kind of like a new Eldar faction.
Right, because as Yvraine found out that by contacting Yanid, that basically that stopped her soul from going to Slanesh.
Right. Right. And that's the fear of all Eldar. The reason why the Craft Worlders use those gemstones is because if they die permanently, then their soul will be consumed by Slanesh. So the way they get that or get around that for now is they basically make sure that they die near a soul stone, and when they die, their souls are captured in the crystals. But if those crystals are destroyed, then they die forever and they're consumed by Slanesh. And then the Drukhari, they're also immortal, but the way that they get away with it is they cause death and suffering to other living creatures, and it's kind of like a vampire effect, where if they torture another living creature or rape it, then they kind of vampire wise get younger.
Right. Other
And
like I
Harlequins
said,
are Harlequins.
yeah, they're just laughing clowns. Yet for some reason they're just not affected by Slanesh at all, which I don't know if they've ever explained.
Yeah, it's because their god, their patron god is Segarash, who's the laughing god. He's the god of like jokes and gestures and tricks. He's like their Loki. And Segarash was the only god to basically run away from the battle between the gods, and so he was the only god to survive intact. And so Segarash hangs out in the webway, and so the Harlequins do as well. And then the Harlequins, they intervene in Eldar affairs, but they also intervene in human affairs, where they try to play factions against each other and snip the strands of fate. Where they'll like assassinate people who will be bad for Eldar, or they'll pitch two factions that are supposed to kill a bunch of Eldar against each other. So they'll come to fight the Harlequins, but then they end up fighting each other and killing each other, and then they save a craft world. So the Harlequins are kind of like I don't know, they're like the Batman. They're like the saviors of the Eldar without anybody really knowing who they are or what their intentions are.
And also really OP considering in one book they managed to kill, like one Harlequin managed to kill Custodes, and it's just like, fucking what? the best that the Emperor could create, and you just fucking one-shot them? What the hell?
Well, the how do I phrase this? The Major Killer, whatever, who is an Australian shit posting lore
Yeah, I
40k
watch those
channel.
videos all the time.
Yeah, so one of his videos, which I kind of think of, is that the writer didn't know the difference between the Tempesta Scion level exterior guard, I forget what they're called, they're just humans, and the Custodes. So he wrote that the Harlequin just killed a bunch of Custodes, but he really meant the human Imperial Guard. At least that's what Major Kill's headcanon is, and that makes sense to me, because you can't, Custodes can take on entire fucking like demon hosts by themselves. So you can't, having a Harlequin troop one-shot Custodes is fucking silly.
Is
Oh
that the
yeah.
guy that made the memes where Alex Jones is just he superimposes his head onto
No,
like
that's
a Astartes?
that's a
Okay.
different guy. Major Kill, he tries to break down the Warhammer universe, but in a
Okay.
shitposty way. One of his common memes, of course, being like Angron should have been aborted.
Which he's
But
not wrong.
I mean, Alex Jones is just an Astartes that just got lost.
Alex Jones is a Thunder Warrior who got lost.
These are demons.
My kids ain't going. My kids aren't going hungry.
I'm ready to string up my neighbors.
What a wild character.
So the next episode is this is the one I had some of the most fun with. Kill Protocol, the
Yes.
AdMech episode.
Excellent
that's the
episode.
one where he's like wandering around the wasteland looking for like the tech and whatnot.
Yep, it's the
STC,
tech priest
yeah.
and the what do they call it?
Oh,
Castellan robot.
yeah. And one of the things I really like the most about it is we get to explore. I'm trying to think of the best way to. When that conversation between that guardsman and the tech priest, when they're sitting around the campfire, this is what victory looks like, and it's a barren wasteland. Like,
Because in that universe, that's like the best you can get.
Especially when
Especially when your
orcs.
planet is corrupted by orcs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say the other thing that I think was really interesting was the tech priest Dominus, her simultaneous humanity and inhumanity.
Mm-hmm.
So her inhumanity was evident. Like she's just kind of walking around with this robot. She's trying to recover archaeotech. She's willing to kill another human who's technically allied with her just to advance her own survival. She sacrifices the Castellan robot at first in order to secure the archaeotech, even though it's clear that she has some kind of like whatever remaining flashes of an attachment to the robot. And then at the end, she uses the archaeotech to save the robot. And I don't think that was actually a calculated move. I think that was fucking cope. I think that because the archaeotech has the ability to reforge metal, basically. And if you took that tech and you brought it back to the broader Imperium, you actually would probably change the nature of warfare in the Imperium of Man. But the Mechanicum and Mechanicus are so secretive that they don't care. They'll keep that a jealously guarded secret for millennia, just because they love it so much they can't let it go. And that's also what happens with the robot, where she's willing to sacrifice the technology to bring back her, the closest thing to a friend that her robotic brain can comprehend.
Yeah,
And
I
so
always thought
I
that
love
was
that.
cool. I always thought that was I thought that was a nice touch.
Yeah.
They're not
Sorry, go ahead.
completely they're not completely machine.
Yeah,
Right.
despite how much they want to deny it, they are still in a way human.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the somebody pointed this out too. So 90% of the show, you're actually seeing her robotic arm when she's like shooting or fighting or whatever. But when she actually, I haven't confirmed this, but this was in the comments a few times, that when she places either the Archaeotech or she places like the final like fight all the orcs data card into the robot, it's actually she does it with her human hand. And so it's just
I
like a
have the episode
subtle
pulled
detail.
up. I can double check. Da-da.
Yeah, so it's either when she heals the robot or it's when she's running away to secure the Archaeotech and she tells it to, kind of fight to the last. She either places that data slot in with her human hand or she fixes the robot with her human hand.
Just a second.
No problem.
For some reason, when like she was getting the Archaeotech, I thought the big twist was gonna be, oh look, it's Necron, hooray!
I mean, that wasn't entirely possible. That's entirely possible. Um,
I can't, I do, so like the only the only thing of Necron I typically know, at least specific wise, not just general lore, is that Trazen is just kind of a fucking shit lord, and he just goes, "This is mine now. This is mine now."
which I think is a decent place to start. I think originally I was turned off by them having personalities, and now I kind of like it because
Yeah,
it gives the faction more flavor, other than these are just Terminator Egyptian robots that nobody understands that kills everybody. Like that's cool, but it doesn't give you a whole lot to do lore wise with your army. Whereas actually having like the senior leaders of the Necrons have personalities, I actually think is super fucking interesting.
Yeah,
yeah.
your commenter was correct. As soon as inserting the thing, she is doing it with her human hand.
Right.
That is a, oh my god, it's subtle touches that aren't. Hey, oh, hey Wyatt,
What
did
do you,
you know that the Yautja is representative of colonialism?
we did a whole, yeah, by the time this goes up, for my solo channel, we broke down a video talking about how Prey did stuff to make the Predator great again, and it
uh,
was like, oh, the Predator's a allegory for colonialism, and we're just going, what the fuck are you talking about?
See, he's a monster now and not a character, even though you can be both.
Well, that's like fucking. I haven't seen the new one yet, but the reason why I find that a little silly is just because, like, wait, so are we assigning like an insane amount of like power and malice to the original colonial Americans? Like, were they like in fucking trees and like
Oh, oh no,
like phosphor blasting the Native Americans?
this person was saying that about the original.
Yeah.
What?
The well,
No.
no. He no. In the original, he was saying that the Yautja was going up, was like being against colonialism.
What? Okay. Listen, if
Because
you were gonna say that the Yautja was like a Native American indigenous jungle demon who was playing revenge on the colonial imperialists, I see how you could read that into the place or into the script, but that's you reading into it. I don't think that's like a part of the original plot. I think you're just seeing what you want to see at that point.
Well, that's most of these video essayists assigning stuff that just isn't there.
yeah,
Right.
it's like, oh, like it's, we get little it's like we didn't exactly know what it was doing in the first. No, we knew exactly. He had all the skulls as a trophy. He was like, these are mine now.
Yeah, he was. he was on fucking holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things I really liked about this episode does have to be that conversation with the guardsman, and then the outcome of oh, I need that arm. What do you mean? Ah, and yeah, the arm is now part of his leg.
I mean, she couldn't have. She couldn't have just said. She couldn't have just taken the arm. No, she had to kill him.
Well, to be fair, Mechanicus see no value in human life.
I know. I'm not saying that's an issue. It's just, it's because I have this. Even though my heart is a cold, black, weird thing that pumps viscous, thick fluid through the tubes in my body, it still beats regardless.
Mm.
Well, so the thing with that, I just think it's a plot convenience. Because if they had her take the arm and then leave him there, then he would have been like standing there like screaming for a while. You know what I'm saying? So it probably wouldn't have been like that. He would have been like, "Why are you doing this to me?" And then maybe they would have scuffled and she would have killed him. It just would have been like wasted frames. And I'm not saying like they shouldn't invest in that. I'm just not sure you add that much more to the piece. Because the truth is, regardless of whether or not she killed him, or if she abandoned him one armed in the wastes surrounded by orcs, it didn't really matter. Like she was essentially signing his death warrant without a care in the world either way.
I'll be right back. I'm getting a phone call.
Yep.
Cringe.
Cringe, having a life outside of talking shit. What?
I don't. It's for me. It's literally eat, sleep, work, repeat. That's like my
Nice.
life. That's the life of a lot of people, though.
Yeah, and I just I enjoy talking shit, and obviously I want this to be full time eventually, but the a lot of people don't take into consideration the fact that you do have outside logistics. Like you
Mm-hmm.
either got the wage cage, or you got family, or you got dinner, or you got this, you got that. So yeah, but
I really just want to get monetized, and I'd like it's always I don't know. It's like I just hope that I am, because even through this whole thing, I know it's not healthy. It doesn't help me at all. But I'm just refreshing the page to see if just like to just I just want an answer, because it's been granted the last time I did it I got rejected in less than a day, but it's been like over a day, so maybe
why did they? Well, it's also the weekend. Did
Mhm.
you get? Did they give a reason for the rejection? Because I literally thought
reuse
that the only thing you needed for
reuse reuse
re-
content.
so have you uploaded files that are just the
Nope.
original files and they're not commentary?
Well, the first time I still had, I don't know if you know what AMVs are, the animated music videos. I had a couple of those, so
Yeah,
fair enough that first time. Those are all gone. The
right.
second time, rejected for the same thing. And then I
Do
looked
you
up,
have React content or do you have commentary content?
I have reviews and critiques.
Yeah, I mean that should be fine then, because as long as you're making commentary and being transformative, I mean that shouldn't be a problem.
And the thing is, like, if you want to appeal, make a video and like give us like, okay, it must be no more than 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, I guess you don't want to like watch like an hour video of explaining why, but could you like make it 10 minutes? I think that would be more than enough time. But whatever. And like I like showed a bunch of stuff and showed my process, and they're like, you did not show enough of your process. I'm like, what? I showed
Yeah.
you my editing process. I showed you my scripting process. I showed you my recording process. What more do you want? What more do you need?
I think I was maybe a little bit luckier because I started with political stuff before I started doing the 40K stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the political stuff or whatever is easy because all I was doing was turning on the camera and firing off thoughts for like, 10 to 20 minutes at a time. And so that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't involve anybody else's content. So that's obviously easier for them to, if it's not like community service violations, it's easier for them to say it's independent. Whereas when you have the commentary stuff and you're feeding in videos on top of everything all the time, it's probably easier for them to hunt down. And as a result, they get a little bit more stickly on it.
And
So
then,
that sucks.
of, and of course, when I was looking for stuff, they said, well, they're looking for these things. So it's like, okay, so I commissioned a new profile picture, a new banner. I spruced up my about section, and like I put some links in of like my Twitter, my Patreon, and my TikTok. Although cringe, it's only for memes. It's only for memes, okay? That's all it's for, is for the memes. I'm not gonna post. It's like, dude, did you know that like the ocean is big, bro? Yeah.
What the fuck? I put my headphones back on for a second after this. What?
We
I'll
we were
talk.
just we were just talking about monetization and YouTube being cunts. That's all we were talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah, and
Oh,
like, and then
yeah.
like I linked my TikTok in my about section. I know, cringe, but it's just for memes. I'm not gonna be on there just going, did you know that Texas is one of the, is a big state?
Because Tony learns from his mistakes.
And that was it. Oh, and of course I spruced up pretty much all of my not all, but the majority of my descriptions. So because they don't watch your videos, they just look at your descriptions. So it's
Right.
weird. But I hope that's it. But if that's not the case,
Why would they look at your descriptions? Why would that be what holds you back from monetization? Why not instead, oh, how many strikes have you gotten? What basically what does your record look like?
it's supposed to because YouTube doesn't. I mean, it's they're like, okay, are you a lazy creator? Like, what's your profile picture? What's your channel about? So they read your about section, they look at your banner, they look at your profile picture, and then they look at your descriptions to see, okay, well, what's this about? Oh, this is what the video's about. Okay, and then approve or deny. It's one of those things. And those were all the videos that weren't in another language. There are very many that are in another language, primarily Indian. I'm not saying that's an issue. I'm just saying that's kind of weird.
Huh.
The videos you watch are the videos on your channel.
The videos that I was watching, not the videos on my channel,
I
bro. I'm like
I was like,
half of you.
bro,
I'm
why are you
like,
uploading in Hindi?
if I could speak Hindi, like that'd be fucking amazing. No, I'm like a good port. I'm like all European to my understanding in terms of ancestry, and maybe one Native American, but that's just anecdotal at best.
So that means you could put rope on a tomahawk.
Oh, don't
Sweet.
no. Go back to Warhammer. Don't remind me of that.
Oh wait, oh no, was it like an Assassin's Creed thing?
No, that's
No,
from
that's in
Prey.
Prey. In
She
Prey,
Oh,
she
the
puts a
protagonist.
she puts a rope on her tomahawk so that she could effectively kill
recover it after she
rabbits.
throws it.
Yeah,
Oh,
she had a bow and arrow, but she was using a tomahawk to hunt rabbits.
what?
I know. And then she's just like, "Oh, it's not working." Okay, then just use a bow and arrow. It's faster and more accurate. And she's like, then she makes a rope and ties it to it. I'm like, I what? And then she practices with it for, I would assume, like cinematic time. It's like maybe a couple minutes. And then she like, it cuts to her and she has like 4 rabbits. I'm like, oh, so the rope just makes it better. It increased its accuracy by like 2 points, and that's enough.
That's no, man. Like I thought Prey was supposed to be good.
Oh,
It's
What's going
not.
on?
people are praising
It's
it. It's a 4 at best.
yeah.
It's a 4.
It's like a 4. So okay, I'm sorry.
Uh,
I need to talk about the magic flower. Okay, so there's this flower that
Hold
lowers your
on.
body temp.
Hold on. So first off, Connor, do you care about spoilers?
no, I don't care. And this
Okay.
is actually really sad to me because I was hoping that it would at least be above average.
Okay, so there's this magic flower that
Uh,
makes your body temp that lowers your body temperature, which isn't impossible. However, it
mm,
makes you the temperature of a corpse, as we see later on. So you should be either unconscious or dead. But
and she's got full fucking flow.
well, yeah, well, they establish it at the very least early in the movie because it's supposed to, like, I guess, slow down your heart and like stop you from bleeding out. And then she gives it to this one Frenchman, French
Uh,
colonist, and then like he's just like, oh shit, the predator's coming, and then he like plays dead, and then she's just like, she kind of peeks over a tree, if I recall correctly. She's like, it can't see him, and she holds where she keeps
Yeah,
like the flowers.
instead of
Instead of
the magic flower is now the replacement for the mud.
Yeah, but what's even sadder is like how you don't know the flower is doing anything that prevents the predator from seeing him. He could just be very convincingly playing dead. You don't know the connection. But
Yeah, you
we
don't know the heat signature from the fucking goddamn goggles because you can't see through the goddamn goggles.
But what's even worse is that it
Ah.
can still see you. You just look
Uh,
very cold. It can still see you. We see that multiple times, but then she uses it because it's at night, I guess, even though she's standing next to a pretty big fire. She's just invisible, even though that's not how it works. And then, like, even then,
what
she,
is
like,
up with Hollywood writers?
but no, it's actually kind of worse because not only is she standing next to a large fire, which that should at least put somewhat of an outline on her. Um, she takes it like a couple seconds before he starts coming towards like where they are. So he
Uh,
literally should have just seen like the temperature just drop, and he should just go, "Fucking excuse me, what happened?"
right.
Right?
She has
Yeah,
to.
right.
She even steps out of the like. She hears the predator walking up. She steps out of the way just barely.
Yeah, and then, but even if we are to assume that is we're blocking him or whatever. Given what we saw earlier, he should just stop and go, "Do dead bodies usually stand up? What is this?" Oh, that's not
That's
even the.
so bad.
Oh, he forgets
That
how
is
one of his.
bad.
He forgets how one of his own weapons worked too.
Okay.
That's fucking bad. That's
instead,
terrible.
instead of the plasma caster, he's got this arrow gun that whatever the dots are on, the arrow will like go and
I'm
and
actually I'm
then
gonna
just
see if
hit.
I still have the screenshots on my phone. Hold up.
Uh,
It
Oh, I
should.
do. I do. I'll send them. Just continue, but I'll send them to
and
the chat. I still have them.
That's
the
fucking
predator
horrifyingly bad.
the predator has its mask knocked off, which means it doesn't have its aiming reticle, but attempts to fire his bow gun anyway, and then watches the arrow go in a circle, and then notices the dot is on him, and he goes, "Huh," and then dies.
Yeah.
That's
Okay, so
fucking bad.
sent. Okay, I'm sending the images of the thermal, and yeah, so they're sending, and you can take a look at them, and please, and just tell it's so bad. Um, there they are.
That's fucking terrible.
They're in
I kind of can't
portrait
believe
too,
it.
like a true Giga
the
Chad,
only
like a true Giga
redeeming
Chad. I do it in portrait.
the only redeeming factor has to be that when watching the predator just murder motherfuckers, it is the most entertaining shit in the world.
But
Okay.
even then, when you break it down, he lets himself get hit too many times.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for some reason he decides I'm just gonna tank these hits.
Which,
Dude,
it's like in Predators with the samurai fight, remember, sorry, the sword fight, it's like you can call it silly, but he's like blocking, parrying, dodging, and like when he gets hit, it's because of the skill of the Yakuza guy, and not necessarily he's just letting himself get hit.
right.
But yeah,
Dude,
these are the pictures right here in the chat. If you want to take a look at them, you can clearly see the magic flower does not make you invisible. And then the last picture is, oh, she's invisible.
why can't people create logic and then follow their own logic?
That's gay.
Yeah, that would require people to pay attention and to be competent writers, and that's hard for millions of dollars. Don't you understand?
I
Dude,
think
I think
I
that's
think
why I'm so ass mad because if you literally gave me $1 million, I could make this YouTube channel fucking work 40 hours a week and actually get like something up and running within a couple of years just by doing like, I don't know, like give me $60,000 a year for 2 years. I'll have this channel up and running and humming. But I don't have that kind of time, and yet we have this fucking $100 million project that it doesn't obey its own rules and is just absolutely fucking disgracefully stupid.
it wasn't
That's
it wasn't
sad.
it wasn't 100 million, but we're not even gonna get into the awful CG of the animals. The CG for
Yeah.
the animals is awful. Oh, and water doesn't decloak the predator
I
anymore.
was about to bring that up. Water doesn't do it anymore.
He's just
Why?
he's fighting a bear in a like while standing in a river and like getting like shoved down into the river while fighting the bear, which the fight itself is cool, but like he should be decloaked.
That is so silly. Well, and I'm just saying, like, do people like this? This is the craziest thing. It's like it seems like if you were writing a new property, you would have the writers sit down and watch the originals and then pull out cool ideas and try to incorporate them into their new script, but also so they could keep the world consistent. Like, how is that
Yeah.
not a thing?
I don't know, but we're not even getting into the fucking pistol at the end of Predator 2 that's in this movie because that's just an entire fucking rant in and of itself.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'll just say this: whatever meaning that scene had is significantly less now.
Well, and wasn't the whole point, at least in like the comics or whatever? I think there was comics, and they basically said that that was from an original duel with like some pirate or some Caribbean dude
Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
300 years
yes.
ago.
1718. It's a fucking fantastic comic, and it's a gift because he never got to fight the guy because he
Mm.
got shot in the back. But they did like fight back to back like against like mutinous stuff, and like they're about to go at it, but then he gets shot in the back, and like
Uh-huh.
he like and because this is the elder from Predator 2, and because he respected him so much, he actually made a grave for him, and then like
Right.
he like gave him his extendable sword as a gift because the pistol was a gift, it wasn't a trophy.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's infuriatingly stupid.
Yes. It,
I hate modern writing for the most part.
so do I.
Uh, and to bring it back to Warhammer, the next episode is Cadius Stands.
Oh,
Um,
that's the guard episode, isn't it?
It's the Guardsman episode, yeah.
yes, it's Guard versus Tyranids. If they okay, that would there's some cringe in there, but if they had actually invested in the action scenes, I wouldn't have cared.
I think this
So
is the best. I think Cadius Stands might be the best intro to Warhammer episode that they made.
really,
Because at the very least, introducing someone to the Guard, specifically the Cadian
right?
Regiment. I don't know if actually, yeah, I'll take that back. I'm not sure if it's a good introduction to the Warhammer universe because nothing else is introduced, but
Yeah, but
it's got a
for
hook.
the guard and for the yeah for the guard and for the
The Tyranids.
Tyranids, yeah, I think it's an okay start. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Um, yeah, the just seeing what every guardsman goes through and just the the adamantium balls that they all have, such as that one guy who was buried underneath all his comrades and all he wanted was his gun and to go back to his
Right.
post.
Yeah, that was solid, and I think that sets up the how desperate the guard is, where they're just constantly losing people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a decent setup. But everything else is kind of the okay. So I'll admit, I just got like a little bit annoyed where they have like a 60-year-old Cadian commander who's a woman, and everybody's like, "Yes, sir," and all that kind of crap, and they're like, "Guardsman, come over here and escort this pussy who doesn't pick up a rifle," and then the message all the way back one that seems as so stupid that it could have been World War I, which I think is kind of what they were going for. So that actually makes sense on a certain level. But then two, just like having some pussy POC dude following a strong white femoid around in order to learn the ropes of the guard. Just felt a little bit on message, you know what I'm saying? But overall, if they had beefed up the action a little bit, I wouldn't have cared at all.
I don't know if just be if like of it, I don't know if just because the guardsman was a woman, if they were trying to push a particular message, because since the guard accepts both men and women, especially the Cadian regiment, it just happened to
Sure.
be that particular guardsman.
Yeah, I think the only thing that like most people would appeal to who are kind of saying what I'm saying is just statistics. You know what I'm saying? Like just stats wise, most people are dudes. Most people who fight in war are dudes. Probably in the future that'll stay relatively true. Again, it's not something like my panties are only in a twist because it was immediately the 60-year-old female Cadian commander and then immediately the veteran female guardswoman. But what I kind of also liked about that was not only she was competent, but she was also kind of cruel. And the messenger that was following around eventually stops being incompetent and actually picks up a rifle and starts helping out. And his humanity and empathy actually is one of the stronger things in the episode. And then she ends up sacrificing herself for him, and then he feels this debt to the Cadian regiment. So all of those thematic beats to me overwhelm whatever I'm complaining about.
Mm-hmm. In terms of, once again, animation, fucking awful.
Yeah,
Uh,
so bad.
Yeah.
It's actually, you know what's worse is it shows you things that you want to see in such a bad way that you kind of wish you hadn't seen them. Like I legitimately, I would have loved to have seen a guardswoman fight a couple of Hormagaunts or Termagants with a chainsword and a las pistol and blast their brains apart and all that kind of shit. I would have loved to have seen that in vivid detail. So the fact that I saw it at like half speed, shitty resolution detail almost makes me more angry than if I didn't see it at all. Because at least in my head, I can picture like a clean a clean narrative in animation.
yeah, I can definitely see that. Um, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else from that episode.
The
Not really.
Tyranids
I would
were cool.
say the which ones?
The Tyranids were. Oh, hold on, my mic. The Tyranids were, I thought were cool from just someone who just doesn't know what they are. They're like a. They remind me
Yeah.
of a weird combination of the Flood, the Xenomorphs, and the. I want to say the Borg, kind of,
I
just a
think
little
the
bit.
I think the Zerg might be a bit closer to that analogy, Jake.
Well, if you guys don't
Considering
know, StarCraft was originally supposed to be Games Workshop. It was originally supposed to be
right,
40K.
right, the
Oh,
Zerg were
okay.
supposed to be the Tyranids.
Well, I mean, I didn't
Yeah,
know that the Zerg. I don't know anything about StarCraft, so I didn't. I was just going by what I
they're one
know.
of the major factions, and they're just giant alien bugs. But the point being that I think you're right. Like it is a crazy combination, of those things, and I also think it's really cool. Number one, and then the character designs are really good. Like Gene Stealers look good. The Ripper swarms look good. The Carnifex looked good. So they nailed all of the character design. It's just again a shame that they kind of animated it the way that they did. But the main thing that you're kind of right. So um, you said like Starships, Troopers, bugs,
Oh,
aliens from Alien, and the Flood. I had never thought about the Flood. But the thing about the Tyranids is that they do consume all biomass in order to convert everything into them. So your analogy is actually great.
Yeah,
yeah, because like the Flood take biomass and make it into a grave mind.
Right, and the Tyranids take great biomass and turn it into more Tyranids. So there's actually a firm analogy there. I like it.
And granted, this is getting into the Angels of Death, but I do like the fact their ships are just living organisms.
it's just bigger
Yeah,
than.
isn't that horrifying?
That's I know I've seen it somewhere before, but I cannot. Guyver, it's in Guyver. Everything.
I'm not gonna watch
Back to
Guyver.
Guyver.
I'm not trying to. It's just I'm trying. Where have I seen this before? Oh right, Guyver has this.
Right.
Uh, and that probably I don't know if you guys have ever played the Gothic Armada games. When you're playing as the Tyranids, they don't have that much dialogue, but you then hear the enemy's dialogue, and one of them being an Imperial captain is like, "By the Emperor, we can hear them in the walls." And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's terrifying. They just
Yep.
are eating apart your ship.
Yeah, no, they're horrifying. Horrifying enemy to contemplate for any amount of time. And there's actually really great art. Ripper swarms are little bugs that are shot out as a weapon, but when they hit you, they actually eat you from the inside. And there was a guardsman that got hit that way and killed that way in the series, and I thought, ooh, that's pretty fucking hardcore. Um, and and basically, you just got to think about that. It's like, what if a bunch of like piranha were shotgun blasted at you, and the way that you died was them eating your guts from the inside? Like that's fucking horrifying.
That's what the unit looks like on the tabletop. Well,
Oh, that
specifically,
looks cool.
that's specifically from Forge World.
I do remember I was playing the Deathwatch like tabletop game, like it's like a D&D type RPG. And granted, we kind of misinterpreted the rules, but I literally just mowed down an entire swarm of Tyranids because I kept getting crits.
And didn't feel good.
It did
Didn't it
feel
feel
good.
good?
We kind of like headcanoned it to be, oh, the Emperor was somewhat impressed with my duty, and therefore I got a buff.
So true.
uh, yeah, that was that's kind of the common complaint that we've had so far. Decent stories, horrible animation.
Yeah.
Right.
After this, we have Artifacts, which is the Chaos
I
Space Marine
favorite
and Necron episode.
favorite episode by
I
far.
love I love the twist. The twist just is like, I love it. Makes me like Trazen because he is just a shitlord. That's all he does.
Right.
The twist,
No, it's great.
the twist was really nice. Mainly because it relies on the pride of the Chaos Space Marines to the point he knows they will never not accept the challenge. Because just doing that, if they just don't accept the challenge, they break free from the loop.
Right. And they just they can never
They can't do it.
well, and I think that's so hilarious because I'm literally trying to imagine like, so the plot, just for whoever's listening or whatever, is some Terminators, they're hunting down some Necrons, they kill some Necrons. They get kind of teased by a chronomancer that if they go into a certain area of space, they'll be able to find an artifact that allows them to fuck with the webway. The webway is the back tunnels through the warp that are safe to travel through, so you don't really get ripped up by storms. And on top of that, you can make it further faster. So Abaddon is actually on screen for a little bit, and he dispatches some Chaos Terminators in order to go handle this mission and recover the artifact. And there's this moment right before they teleport into the trap where they're kind of giving each other shit. There's one cautious guy who's like, "Hey, I think this is a trap. We should appeal a different way." And he's basically bullied as a coward by one of his teammates. And the commander, basically sick of the bickering, says, "Well, we have to go in anyways because Abaddon's expecting it of us." And so it ends up being an elaborate trap where they fight a bunch of Drukhari, which are Dark Eldar, and fight some and then Trazen reveals himself to have trapped people in this infinite Pokemon ball labyrinthine loop where in order to escape, they have to never enter in the first place. But in a series of loops, when will a Chaos Terminator squad not go into a dangerous situation? And the answer is never.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, you'll be free if you just walk away.
And
No,
when is a Chaos Terminator squad ever going to walk away?
exactly.
And I also like the end reveal where Trazen, like, it backs out and it shows Trazen's collection, and it has a commander from the Fall of Cadia.
Oh yeah,
It has a
it's got
Thunder Warrior.
Creed. It's got.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
hold
got a
on,
Zote.
I can actually pull that image up because
It's got an Eldar Warwalker.
Well, yeah, he has everything. It's like that scene from Thor Ragnarok. Behold, my stuff.
My stuff.
He's just telling that to the other Necron. The Necron are like, "Why do you need this?" It's like, why not?
Well, that meme is just any Warhammer fan in general. Behold, the stuff, and it's just all the armies and all the plastic, all the sprues.
How much did that cost you? Well, my son's not going to college.
Let's see. Oh, it's also a because I'm seeing some of it. We got a Harlequin. We've got a Squat. I think we see a Man of Iron too.
Yeah, and the Harlequin isn't supposed to be like a normal, like there's like the troop, which is just the normal dudes. I think it's a Harlequin solitaire, which is supposed to be a Harlequin so singled out by Segarach that they're basically like destined for great things. And so him
Mm-hmm.
taking that is actually fucking with Segarach.
Trace in the Infinite is just he's a very interesting character, and especially with the fall of Cadia, and how just this bell he had was ringing and it was destroying half of his collection. So he just chucked it into the webway to fuck with the Eldar.
I love that. I love that kind of lore where people are like they're in such an insane environment that they take what is already insane and they make it more insane. I love that shit.
Well, it's because that's kind of one of the best ways to just is to just have fun with the situation. That's why we love the orcs so much. They're one of the only factions that's
Mm.
truly having fun.
Right.
So to quickly throw a screenshot of what all is in the collection, I believe there's also an original Horus Heresy helmet in here because of it's the
Well,
16th
one
Legion.
of those is Thunder Warrior. The one with the half helmet
Yeah, that's a
is a
Thunder
Thunder
Warrior.
Warrior.
We've got Creed that's right next to him. We've got a we've got a Tyranid across from him. Oh wait, we've got two Tyranids. No, that's not a Tyranid. The big floater alien. That's
It could be that's I think it's an invader or something like that. Or it's there's some there was some psychic species enslaver. I think it's an enslaver. So they just kind of float around and they literally just psychically control thousands of people at one time. And so they literally control planets. So you basically have to send in psychically strong people to kill the enslaver in order to free the people, and you have to fight the people in order to get to the enslaver.
neat.
Amazing, outstanding. All right, Kal-El.
Kalel, no.
Kal-El, no.
After this, we have Plague Song, the Nurgle episode.
The best and worst episode in the series.
So like, I
So
liked this episode, and I think but I was very grossed out, which I think that is the intention.
that's
Oh, it
very
is the
much the
intention.
effect of Nurgle, yes.
Well, and it's not just that. I think the main complaint that I have and all of my commenters had was basically that if chaos was this powerful, they would just auto win everything. But I think you kind of got to think how big the 40K universe is. It's literally the galaxy. And this was enough power to take out a planet and the system, surrounding it through the astropaths. But the truth is that like just because they're singing their song of corruption doesn't mean that that's gonna infect the entire Imperium. And on top of that, there was so much warp fuckery in this episode that that kind of warp fuckery is probably one in a billion kind of event, not a everyday occurrence.
Yeah, because if in all reality, if the Death Guard really could do this in every fight, yeah, they would never lose.
Right, right. And I think the only complaint that I have, but I had learned from Garden and the Ghost, because I didn't enjoy Garden and the Ghost when I was watching it halfway through. I was like, dude, I just want to see the battle, show me the violence. But because I'd watched Garden and the Ghost, I kind of learned to trust at least the plot to be okay. So following all the way through the episode, it's like this guy hates all his other Nurgle Terminators, talks shit to them, corrupts them, creates like a spawn, I guess, which is like it's not even a demon; it's just like a warp corrupted entity, and he drags it as like some kind of weird sacrificial thing to an Imperial world. While the Imperial Navy confronts him, they basically like wither away and die in front of him, and they take the planet with almost no problems whatsoever. But what ends up happening is through warp fuckery, he basically traveled into the present to corrupt the astropathic choir, which is an insanely powerful psychic relay. And then he corrupts it with Nurgle's Blight. And then because he corrupted them in the present, he was basically able to destroy the fleet in the past. And so that just kind of shows you how tricksy and fucked up the warp is.
Yeah, the fucked up thing about the warp is not only does it fuck with you physically and mentally, it fucks with time itself.
Right.
That's why one of the stories of an STC is that the ship was stuck in the warp for a good couple. I think they were gonna warn about the. Dark age of technology and the threat of the greatest threat to humanity. The ship comes out of the warp, and they go, "Oh, what emperor do you serve? What emperor?" And then the crew of the ship were shot, and the STC got pissed and murdered everybody. And so when it was later discovered by a tech priest and some Marines, the STC froze the Marines in their armor. Yeah, along with and then the tech priest just like, oh, let me rub the sacred oils. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Sacred oil? I'm a machine. That's the funniest thing about a sentient STC. It just sees a tech priest as just absolutely insane.
Well, and I think that's where you just have to give if you're like a new person to 40K, you just have to give 40K some latitude to be weird, and that's like part of what drags us there in the first place. And so not every single story is going to be like a banger that makes total sense that you're just absolutely into and you're into the faction and all that kind of stuff. Some of them are going to be weird offshoots and strange stories and non-linear storytelling and different, roundabouts and all that kind of stuff. So you just kind of have to be down for the ride and just appreciate the universe for the universe. So it's not the strongest story wise, but seeing Scions temporarily fight, Nurgle demons and Nurgle warriors was cool. Getting familiarized with a faction that I'm not very familiar with because I think they're disgusting was cool. Seeing some warp fuckery was cool. Seeing the Imperial Navy and its all its glory before it was rotted and decomposed was cool. And then also, one of the interactions that I thought was hilarious was one of the bridge crew actually talked back to the protagonist and get shot as a result. And then you can see like how corrupted, decayed, and fucked up like the little warp creatures are in the ship. And you
Mm-hmm.
can kind of tell that their lives like suck. Like, 'cause their lives are just like they not only do they have a menial job, but their like skin and bones and muscle and eyeballs are like falling apart on top of their body. So imagine having like a retail job in the 21st century and then add on top of that your body is literally withering away on top of your skeletal frame.
Yeah, and to any outsider to this, they would wonder like, why would anyone work for any chaos if that's what's gonna happen? And they don't understand. What they don't understand is, while that's what you look like, you're probably not feeling most of that pain, because if you've accepted Nurgle and you've accepted entropy, you're the pain stops essentially.
Yeah, so that Nurgle's gifts are it's basically painless immortality. But then you also are a corrupted, stinky sack of shit.
Right.
So it's actually, if you were to talk about corruption from the Chaos Gods, if you were corrupted by Khorne, you're always furious and you always have to kill something, or else you start to feel like sick and weak and decrepit. Slaanesh, you basically have to like rape things to death and murder things in gruesome ways in order to maintain your power, and it's kind of like when you get high and then you can't get high anymore. So every single time that you get like you kill something or rape something, you almost have to be more extreme the next time around in order to stave off the insanity. And then Zinch or whatever, like he could turn you into a bird-like demigod of war, or he could turn you into a goo filled with eyeballs. So you
Or
don't
a
really know what
book.
you're gonna get. Or a book.
I still I think chaos wise, that
Mhm.
episode still might be my favorite, but that's because I'm
Not bad.
I'm a Thousand Sun simp, so
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, Zinch.
Well,
Well,
and
see, I'm a Giga Chad salamander simp.
nice, which is not a bad thing to be. But then, so Nurgle compared to the rest of the Chaos Gods is actually kind of appealing because it's painless immortality.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not too bad considering what the other gods demand of you.
I think this is just in the in the meta of 40k. I'm kind of sick of Nurgle as not the bad guy concept, but the fact that we're always fighting him in the video games.
Mm-hmm.
Like if
Like which one?
so,
I know there's Chaos Demon Hunters, but what's the other one?
so we've got things. So in just Warhammer as a brand, we've got Vermintide, we've got Inquisitor, Martyr,
Mm-hmm.
Chaos Gate, and even upcoming Darktide. The chaos enemies of those games is always Nurgle, and it's always
Yeah.
frustrated me because it's just like I would really like with Chaos Gate. How cool would it have been to fight Tzeentch demons? Because then you could actually have like Psyker battles.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Grey Knights, predominantly being a Psyker-based organization fighting a psychic-based demon army.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I know Games Workshop are really shitty with their IP and shitty with their money and force you to spend money that you don't want to spend and all that kind of stuff. But what I am hoping is that like Dark Tide and Space Marine 2, I'm hoping that they're not just quality successes, but they're also commercial successes. And I'm also hoping that the TV series, because I think they're doing a live action Eisenhorn. I hope that they do a really good job with the live action Eisenhorn because if this were to take off the way, like, kind of, I don't know, Game of Thrones or some shit takes off, there will probably be an endless treasure trove of money to throw at new projects, at which point you might get Tzeentch, expansion packs or Slaneshi expansion packs or Cornate expansion packs. And, that kind of shit would be sick. And I'm also sick of turn-based video games. I wish they would get away from that.
Yeah, it's their heavy reliance on it is kind of annoying. That's why I love Necromunda Hired Gun. The problem is Necromunda Hired Gun is also still just a janky game that Games Workshop just handed to the developers. They're like, here you go, make this game.
Right, which is why I think Dark Tide and Space Marine 2 have a lot of promise, because the truth is, even if they just reskinned Space Marine 1 with Tyranids, I would still be happy. And then if they, with Dark Tide, they did Vermintide. So there's, and they also delayed it a year. So hopefully that means that there's a high probability of success. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, I'm excited for Darktide just as a guard player. I'm like, fuck yeah, we're finally playing something guard related, even though from what I've heard of the story, you're supposed to be a group of convicts, and it's like, no, why couldn't you just be normal guardsmen?
Well, I think the guy with the mask with the las rifle will be traditional guardsman, and the Ogren is obviously going to be former guard. Like that's just
Yeah.
presumed. I don't think people just let Ogren walk around.
Hey,
So
the smartest Okran in the universe can count to 4. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So the So that really only leaves like the ecclesiarchal Asian priestess and the what's the other one? The psyker.
Yeah.
Which like okay, I mean you got your mage class basically with a force sword, which I think is pretty cool. And then the ecclesiarchal cast member, that wouldn't be my first choice, like the zealot. But she does have I want to say like a stub gun or something like that, and she has like somebody said it's not technically a thunder hammer, but to me it looks like a thunder hammer. So
It's
that could
very
actually be really
close.
fun to yeah, that could be really fun to play with.
Yeah. And yeah, I think I'm gonna play as the veteran the most because it's
You
because
want to be the guardsman, yeah.
yeah, I want to be the guardsman. I want to hold my las rifle and simp for the emperor. Uh,
Yeah. I'm good with that. And then also the only thing that I think is gonna happen that I'm gonna be disappointed in, um, is the fact that like I want to kind of like what you were saying, I want to play as a guardsman, right? Like I want to be in the Imperial Guard. I want to upgrade my gear. I want to look like a frickin' Scion. Like if I could get a Tempesta Scion helmet, Tempesta Scion armor, if I could get a hotshot las gun, if I could get a hotshot las pistol, if I could have a chainsword, or like a power fist as a guardsman, I would just die of happiness. Like the same way that I played Space Marine for the first time and fell in love with the game is the same way that I would fall in love with being a guardsman in the 40k universe, playing with the weapons that I've known for so long. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to get that. I think it's probably going to be like Left 4 Dead or other shooters like that where there's not a lot of customization.
Yeah, it's just gonna be. That's the biggest worry that I have is that Darktide literally will just be Vermintide, but with more guns.
I think
Cause
that I think it will be fun. I think it'll be good. I think it'll be worth the money, but I think you're probably right.
mm-hmm. So let's see. With the next episode, Double or Nothing. Our first episode
I
into
loved it.
Age of Sigmar.
I
I
thought it
loved
was
it.
I thought it was entertaining. I liked I forget his name, but he was very kind of
Hamilcar Bear Eater.
Ham-
How could you forget Hamilcar Bear Eater?
I watched the episode once and it was like a month. It was like a month and a half
The
ago.
hero. No. I'm joking because the Hamilcar's entire shtick is that he's like a hero who's won countless battles and duels and all that kind of stuff, but nobody knows who the fuck he is. I love that shit.
He's like Booster Gold.
Yeah. I'm unfamiliar with Booster Gold, but
He is his moniker is the greatest hero you've never heard of. That's
yeah. And I thought I thought it was hysterical because you were taking like this really serious incident where like and this actually led me to read a bunch of AOS lore. You have the Oryx, who are just orcs, surrounding a human city and they're going to destroy it. You have the Storm hosts ready to fight to the last man, but they don't have enough people for the city's defense. You have Hamilcar Beareater show up in order to bet his own life against the chieftain of the orcs in order to save the city, and he's kind of like an idiot and comedic, and like you don't know if he's playing a game or if he's just stupid, and nobody knows whether or not he's playing a game or just stupid because everybody assumes he's stupid in the game or in the TV series. And then it actually turns out that he had a pretty ingenious, dangerous, and stupid plan that ended up paying off well. And I thought it was great. I thought the entire, and it was animated properly, which I also enjoyed.
Yeah, it was a proper way of dealing with an like a half. I don't want to say it was a half walk, but it was getting damn near close to it. And his idea was, oh yeah, if I just pit the orcs against each other, they'll take themselves down.
Right. And the thing that I kind of noticed was that the Storm host, they were ready to fight a traditional military battle and lose. So they were getting themselves ready to die and basically have their souls reforged by Sigmar, which is actually like it's a taxing process where they actually lose part of their mortal selves whenever they die. But they would be reforged into new storm hosts. But what would end up happening is they would lose the human city, and probably most of the humans in that city would have been killed. But because of Hamilcar's intervention, no humans are killed. And I think that was a really cool way to show off that like you have the traditional military thinking and the traditional ways to be a hero, and Hamilcar was able to achieve better results by being a different kind of hero. And I thought that was great. I thought it was a great story, great theme.
Yeah, yeah, relying more on tricks and wit rather than just outright force.
Yeah.
You think you're playing chess, bitch? I'm playing Uno.
Well, especially
And,
after he made the Sigmar bolt just hit the orc. It's like, yeah.
yeah. Well, the something that somebody pointed out in a comment literally today was that the first I think he kills like a Gretchen or a Grot. It's like a big dumb gray ogre looking thing, but it just looks like a big Grot. And so he's he's like, "Oh, you don't look much like a best boy," because he was expecting to be dueling an orc. And that little grot or whatever says like cunning beats brutal any day. And then of course like Hamilcar basically breaks his arm and stabs him in the head with his own knife. And it turns out that cunning does beat brutal. Hamilcar was able to be more cunning than anybody else in the episode, and as a result, he beat him.
Mm-hmm.
So which one is the cunning? Is it Gork or Mork?
I don't know.
I've
I
always
just know that
forgotten
one's cunning
myself.
but brutal, and the other one's brutal but cunning.
Which is kind of the joke, is that at the end of the day they are kind of just interchangeable.
Well, I mean, the
Well,
orcs
not to the orcs
are
though. Don't tell that to an orc.
well, yeah. Well,
That's how I get
see,
crumped.
well,
Yeah.
no, you see, the orcs mega ultimate super brains that operate in a higher function than
Mm.
us measly stupid humies, right? It's
Yeah.
like they understand the nuances and differences, but because red go fast.
Right. Yeah. And then hold on. Which orc god is cunning but brutal? Gork. Okay, so Mork is god of cunning brutality. So I would say that is like cunning is the first word, so that would be the emphasized thing. Whereas
Right.
Gork is oh wait, hold on. Gork is the god of brutal cunning though. So actually I think it's the other way. I think Gork is the more cunning one because brutal is the modifier, but cunning is the word. And then Mork is cunning brutality, meaning that his brutality is just smart. So I actually think Gork is the actual cunning god.
He is SMRT.
Yep. So
So so is that
no,
just?
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna ask if that's just the pattern that's showing with Hammer and Bolter. We did 10 episodes in the 40K universe. Are we gonna deal with 10 in Sigmar?
I hope not, but I'm not going to be surprised. It doesn't really seem like they thought enough ahead in order to have a coherent strategy. And I also think that they knew that they needed to suck in the 40K people because I think the 40K people is probably the bigger base at this point. So it would make sense to me if they did 10 40K episodes and then 10 AOS episodes, but I also think that's kind of going to suck
That's
because that would
that is gonna suck. You're gonna have people like me that just aren't interested.
Why not go to 30K then Age of Sigmar, kind of like descending order?
well, I don't think they have any 30K Hammer and Bolter yet.
Well, that's because
But that
Horus Heresy hasn't even launched yet.
yeah, they've had the tabletop for a really long time. The tabletop's been around it's been around for at least 10, 15 years, I think, at this point.
Yeah, but it's
Um,
been mainly through Forge World, and it's only just
yeah,
now
and it's
getting
being
major releases.
relaunched. Yeah, it's being relaunched in plastic right now. And they had the Horus Heresy trailer, which honestly, to me, that could have been Siame Peterson. That could have been the Astartes artist who did that because it was
Mm.
just that fucking good.
That trailer was awesome. I liked Horace's voice too.
Yeah, which I think somebody said, I haven't confirmed. Horus might have been voiced by Henry Cavill. I don't know if that's true or not.
Let's take a look.
Is Henry Cavill a 40K nerd? I know he's a Witcher
Yes,
nerd.
No,
he
he
plays
fucking loves this
Custodes.
shit. Yeah, he plays Custodes, my faction.
Oh, cool. Because I know he's epic. He's an epically based Superman fan, so that's always nice.
Yeah, but so even if he didn't voice the Horus in the Horus Heresy trailer, that was obviously such an amazing trailer. Oh my God, it was so good. And
Yeah.
that kind of made me wish that well, one, they've promised Astartes 2. So they better be releasing the Astartes 2 sometime in the next year, or I'm gonna be fucking pissed. Then and like I don't care what you got to pay Siame Peterson. If you literally got to sit down and like point a gun at his head and pay him like $2 million to make it, point a gun at his head and pay him $2 million. Like who gives a shit?
It's $2 million.
I was
Yeah.
going to say,
Then
I think just give him the $2 million. I think
no,
because that's
because if he says thanks for the 2 million, I'm not making it, then you got to make him do it.
hmm
So yeah, but if they have like 10 Age of Sigmar episodes or whatever, I'm not gonna complain. Not because I wouldn't be disappointed, because honestly, so far, Monsters was animated all the way through. Every action set piece, every action scene was animated all the way through, and it had a good plot. And then I felt like what was it? Double or Nothing was animated like 90% of the way through. It was animated all the way up until the final battle, and then the only janky animation is when Hamilcar is walking away from the orc encampment, and they just like shake around the encampment in the background, and he's like, "Be sure to let me know who wins," and then they just kind of like shake the outpost in the background while the orcs
hmm
are fighting. There was maybe two scenes that I thought weren't properly animated and they were being lazy and cutting cost. But to be honest, besides that, I thought it was great. So
Freaking
I'm
slur in his alien Irish customs.
Oh
Who?
yes, Slur is our local Irishman who was supposed to be joining us here, but
Hmm.
he's stuck in a cookout.
And he's doing an ABBA sing along.
Gotcha. I mean, that is important, so understood. But the but yeah, that's for me. You guys haven't seen Monsters, right?
Yeah, so unfortunately, that's Hammer and Bolter
No.
for us.
Yeah.
I think afterwards, Jake and I might sit down and watch it just to see
Yeah.
what the episode how it handles its stuff. But
Yeah, so I won't. Yeah, I won't spoil anything. But for me, what I liked about Artifacts, with the Chaos Terminators was that like I didn't understand why you would serve Chaos because obviously you're going to be doomed to hell. You're going to start sprouting stuff out of your body. The gods are fickle, so they'll probably fuck you over at some point. Everybody's competing against everybody, so you'll probably die a pretty quick death. And the chances of you becoming an eternal demon, of the Chaos gods is very low. But what kind of appealed to me was the Terminators having fun. Like in the beginning when they were like killing the Necrons or whatever, and it's like, hear the laughter of the gods! And this guy with like an autocannon is just ripping into Necron warriors. That looked fucking awesome. And so being an independent Terminator who can do whatever you want whenever you want to, that sounds fucking badass.
yeah,
So that made Chaos look good.
especially
Same thing
because
happens in Monsters.
especially due to the fact that they're part of, I think it's
Chaos
the
Undivided.
they're the not the Luna Wolves.
They were the Luna Wolves. Now they're the Black Legion.
The black. I was okay. I was right the first time. I know the Luna Wolves was before they went traitor.
Yeah, Luna Wolves, then Sons of Horus, then Black Legion.
Black Legion. Yeah, and so Black Legion serving Chaos Undivided. Uh,
And
it's really
actually,
nice.
sorry, go ahead.
I was just I really like their designs, especially with like the tusks on the Terminator helmets, and it was.
Hmm.
I thought it was nice seeing Abaddon, even though personally I think Abaddon as a villain is really lame.
Yeah, yeah. I think it should be a Primarch. I don't think it should be a Space Marine
Well,
turn.
Abaddon, that's who I was, because I
Yeah,
was talking with a
Abaddon the
friend at
Despoiler.
work about 40K, and we were talking about he's a chaos, not Primarch, but he's like a chaos leader, right?
Yeah, he's a Chaos Lord. He's the leader of the
Uh,
Black Legion, and he was
yeah,
he was Horus's right hand man as Horus fell, but he was still just a Space Marine. So
yeah,
that's kind
because
of
like I'm
stupid to me.
I'm still only in the second book of the Horus Heresy, and Abaddon's just kind of meh.
Yeah. Well, and there's one where he's written as kind of like a brotherly figure to Garavil Loken, and I actually really appreciated that because it made their story when they snapped apart more sad. But then in the next book, he's just a dick, and I'm just like, okay, I guess you can be an
Let,
asshole then.
I always preferred Torgadon and Gaviel's relationship better.
Yeah, of course, of course. But the point is that Garavil, because he actually doesn't look like Horus, right? He actually looks like a Terran Luna Wolf, and he's the only one in the group that doesn't look like Horus. He's kind of an outsider looking in. He's just so good at what he does and so good as a leader in a Space Marine that he's allowed into the inner circle. But he's always kind of on the outside looking in, but therefore he's a voice of reason. Then I don't know if it's Tarek Torgadon. Is Torgadon is he a Luna Wolf as well?
I think so. I
You
There
remember.
was
you're
Horus,
unfortunately asking me.
Accident, Little Horus, and Abaddon. Yeah, let's just say that Torgadon is the let's just say Torgadon's another one of the Mournival or whatever.
Yeah, he
There's
has a
one.
Mournival. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So Garavel Loken is tight with one of the Mournival, who kind of looks like Horus, and that character is actually really nice, and he's torn between Garavel Loken and Horus, whereas Horus Oxymand, who's known as Little Horus, because he looks so much like Horus. He is kind of like, I don't want to say the lapdog, but he's the little brother to Abaddon. And so it's actually really sad that little Horus follows Abaddon. Abaddon follows Horus no matter what. Like he prefers Horus over the Emperor. Garavil is the voice of reason, and then Torgadon is the one who's torn in between everybody. So seeing that brotherly dynamic break up by the third or fourth book is super fucking tragic, and I love that book series.
I also
What?
like the concept of the Mortival in like within that 40K universe where it's like, yes, we do worship the Emperor.
Mhm.
They do, but it's one of those things where it's like because of who the Emperor is, he doesn't know what Brotherhood can be, but that doesn't mean
Mhm.
we can't. And I think isn't the Mortival where there is no rank?
Yeah, so they are all captains in the Luna Wolves, but the Mortival is four captains who are picked to be the inner ear, the inner counselors to Horus. And so they're trusted to speak their mind, and when they're in their meetings or whatever, they don't have a rank and they don't have a title.
Like, aren't there like also like Imperial Guard and like not necessarily in that specific group, but I thought the Mordival was like just kind of like like a secret kind of club where not
You're
necessarily
thinking of the
any.
lodges.
Yeah, the lodge. That's what I was thinking. The lodge.
Yeah,
The
so the
lodge.
lodges were fraternal organizations started by Erebus, and his whole thing. So basically, the lodge is where all the warriors collect, like they collect and they talk shit after the battle. They hang out, they drink, they do all that. But the real reason why the lodges were formed were so people could actually bitch, and so they could voice all their discontent without rank. And then as a result, Erebus could use the lodges to corrupt all the legions. And so
Okay.
it's a back door for the heresy. Because what ends up happening through the lodges is the Space Marines realize that they're conquering the galaxy for inferior creatures. And so they start to view themselves as separate from humanity rather than fighting on behalf of humanity.
Unless you're like the Giga Chad salamanders, but no,
Yeah, but the salamanders probably either rejected the lodges or already had their own traditions similar to the lodges, because they always, 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 always valued humanity. Always.
yes, yes. That's why like the more I learn about the salamanders, it's like, what is it like? Marines Malevolent is like, oh no, the a little girl, that's your dog, shoots the dog. Whereas the
I
salamander's like, here is your dog, little girl. Now let's go get the frozen dairy treat if there is any.
I
Yeah,
I
they are the good guys.
I kind of hate the Marines Malevolent, but that's just kind of uh, because I don't know, I don't in that same way of a 14-year-old edge lord sees Warhammer, I don't see it like that at all. So
Hmm.
the idea that's like, oh, this chapter pretty much just hates protecting people, and I'm just sitting over here in the corner going, isn't that your job as Space Marines?
Well, I mean,
No, our
the
jobs is to
Imperium
kill
is
the enemy.
basically just. I mean, like the Imperium, like currently because the Emperor is like plugged into a fucking chair, is like a giant cesspool of corruption and backstabbing and
Ryder,
assassination.
I'm in here talking to people. Hi, Bear. Sorry, my son's hanging out with me. Yeah, I just have to clean it up, but I was setting up the speaker system and now it doesn't work.
Oh no,
I know.
that's that's unfortunate.
Yeah, well, I might have to go in a second, but the over what I would say overall, if we were to like summarize like the 10 Hammer and Bolter episodes, is like the storytelling is there and it could be good, and at times the story overwhelms the poor animation, but then the poor animation keeps dragging you back to criticizing the poor animation. Then, towards the very end, the Age of Sigmar episode is actually properly animated, so it shows what the series could be. But then that makes it even more unfortunate because if we're rolling into 10 episodes of Age of Sigmar, then that means that they would have to go back and fix all the works they already did, which they're not going to. Or in the future, they're going to have to release them at the quality that they should have already been. And that's just kind of an indictment of them doing a fucking cash grab where they didn't have enough content or enough well-developed content to actually launch the platform, but they did it anyways. And I think that's unfortunate, but very much a Games Workshop tradition.
Right.
The more I learn about Games Workshop, the more I question like who's in charge, what are they doing?
The weirdest
They're
thing of
making
it,
money.
the
That's what they're
weirdest
doing.
the weirdest thing about Games Workshop is, while they are a fucking outright malicious company when it comes to their outward hatred of their fans, they're also at the same time the most, like, almost the most anti-woke company that's out there, because with the release of the Horus Heresy manual and how it says, yeah, only men can be space marines, it's like, and they release those really based things, and it's like, so why you hate us but you're also catering towards us, and not at the same time? This is really weird, because the thing with
Well,
something like Disney just outright hates us, and they're willing to pretty much
burn cash to do
yeah,
it.
yeah, regardless of how much, like, because we know Multiverse of Madness, it just fucking, it barely, like, it made a lot of money, but at the same time, its second week had like a 80-something% drop off. It's like people are starting to notice, but I don't think Disney cares. Games Workshop is not willing to burn all that money, so they are at the very least.
Like, MOM still made like what, over 900 million.
Yeah, but you got to figure, if it's 200 million, 400 million for production, I don't know what the production costs, but
Then
basically
extra 100 million for
you're
marketing.
supposed to double the film budget for the marketing. So if
Yeah.
you're talking about 200 million for production, 200 million for marketing, you're talking about 400, 500 million. And then you're talking about 900 million. Okay, that's 400 of profit, but then you got to turn that back around and put it into other productions. And when you're talking about other Marvel products, like for instance, pretty much everything leading up to Infinity War, when you start seeing your return on investment dropping, part of that is because I think everybody was invested in the original Infinity War storyline, and after that, it just kind of felt like, these are just side plots basically. So that's, some of that is going to be natural, but then some of that is people getting turned off by stupid shit that they're doing. So, they'll notice when they actually have a Marvel property that is not profitable. I think that's when the alarm bells will actually go off.
Mm-hmm. So I think with that, would you guys want to do another episode where we talk about things like Exodite or Angels of Death, or
Sure.
give like a quick summary of those two shows?
Yeah, I'm down. Just give me a few weeks in between, because unfortunately I have to crank out my own content
Of course.
and fucking spend time with the family and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But yeah, besides that, in general, yeah, I'm always down to spend a couple hours talking about 40K, always.
Yeah. But hold on, I have cringe to show you before you go.
Okay.
It's
Excited. Love me some
it,
cringe.
I'm not excited.
it's it's, why is the picture, why is it 1.27 megabytes? I just copied a picture from the Bird app. That's all I. Behold, spider cripple.
What?
Look at it.
Oh my
Shooting webs
god.
from crutches.
What is this shit?
Hold up, is this legit?
It's legit, yes.
Hold on, I'll throw that up for the audience. What?
Bro.
Yeah. Shooting webs out of crutches.
Bro. Dude, I'm done. I'm so fucking done. I'm so fucking done. Dude, I wanted, you know what? I was going to tell you, I was going to, there was a part of me where I was like, oh, I like, tall women. I like Amazons. I like fight scenes. Maybe, and I actually watched, what is it? Winter Soldier and Captain Falcon, whatever the fucking thing.
Falcon Winter Soldier.
Yeah, Falcon and Winter Soldier. So I actually watched that shit, and literally my main beef is that Falcon should have been a super soldier at the end. Like he should have found some super soldier serum, taken it, all that kind of stuff. Because him being just like a normal dude fighting super soldiers and holding his own because he has a jetpack doesn't make fucking sense. I don't understand. Like you don't throw a shield against a tree like 12 times and then you're suddenly as strong as a fucking super soldier. That makes no goddamn sense.
I never quite understood why Bucky was at times just getting his ass kicked when it's just like, Okay, when he's grouped up, that's fine. But one-on-one, Bucky should always dominate because, yeah,
Yeah.
they're both super soldiers, but he's the one of the most experienced combatants on the planet.
Right. So yeah, so there's just like silly shit like that. And then like the speech at the end where it's like, Senator, you shouldn't call the terrorist a terrorist, and you have to do better. Like that was fucking just come to my house. I'll give you $5 a month, and you can just kick me in my testicles instead of making me watch that.
Oh.
Then, so for the She-Hulk thing, it's like so for instance, if they had her I know this would be too expensive or whatever, but let's say that like Tony Stark was being a fucking creep and they figured out the chronology somehow where Tony Stark was hitting on her and somehow that created the conversation where it's like you need to manage your anger better and she's like are you kidding me? I'm a fucking woman. I fucking manage my anger all the time. That would have been fun. Like it would have been it would have been cringe, but like I wouldn't have complained as much, but she did it to Bruce Banner. She did it to the Hulk. The guy who's been hunted his entire life, the guy who lost his fiance, the guy who's accidentally killed people. Like, say it to anybody else in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I might have given your property a shot, but that just shows me that you're ignoring your own property, and therefore I don't give a fuck.
And it's
That
also
and
the
that's why.
I've seen people try to defend it. They're just going like, "But Bruce has lost control of his anger. That's the
Yeah,
like
no
he
shit.
keeps transforming into the Hulk, and it's just like, oh, shut up, shut the fuck up. It's been
Well,
for a
or
variety of
even that, then you have the problem with the Mary Sue shit, where it's like she's Hulk for 2 days, and then she's a fucking master at it. Then there's no struggle. There's no struggle to be a good character.
Well,
And at that point, you
apparently,
lost me
since
there too.
I know I've heard, I don't know like if this is true or not. I haven't watched it myself, but I've heard like this is after like she's done her quote unquote training and shit, right? Where
Right.
she getting the hang of it, and like it's like he's telling her techniques. I'm like, Jen, why don't you listen to your cousin who knows better than you? Because while you may have control of your anger more because what you've listed were minor annoyances, because your life has been far more privileged at the very least the last 15 or so years. Um, one day that might not happen, and you might
Right.
snap, and you
And you
should
might
listen to him.
literally kill some people.
Yeah, you might actually snap.
Yeah, you might pull I forget where Hulk freaked out where the Scarlet Witch like made him
that
destroy
was
like
That's
a
Age of
city in
Ultron.
Africa.
Age of Ultron.
Well, yeah, but I don't remember the city. But the point being that like there's actual lives on the line when you're dealing with this kind of stuff and you're following the in-universe logic. So that's where her spurging about that, like you basically you ham-fisted that script in there because it doesn't work within the realm and the context that they're shoving it in. And I think that's what's frustrating.
Honestly, Hulk should have had a line where he said, "Wow, man, your life probably was your life for the past 15 years was pretty easy." And
See,
then she's like, "What do you?"
if that had happened, I would have been like, all right, I'm in.
Yeah, where he's just like, "Man, like, well, I mean, yeah, you're right. You are better than me. You've had it pretty easy up until now."
Or
I would
instead of
watch
just the
that.
walking clown that he is, where he's just like, we can drink as
Yeah.
much as we want and never get
No.
drunk, and it's just like, what the fuck? What?
Professor
Bruce.
Hulk was a mistake. I hate Professor Hulk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just watch Hulk do a dab.
It is. It's just a little. It's a little bit funny, but I do agree that it was a mistake. It kind of made it took Hulk from one of the highest stakes characters in the game, and also if you saw how Professor Hulk became Professor Hulk, that could have been interesting because then like integrating your rage into your functional personality, that's like what that should be the end state of the Hulk or whatever. But you also robbed him of anything interesting because
Yeah,
Or
now
I
he's
think
an integrated person.
you
like
could have done in a
imagine if we did, yeah, because he said in Endgame he spent like what months in a gamma lab. Man, yeah, he's just transforming in and out of the Hulk, just slamming against the walls, just trying to pretty much just get his anger, not even his anger, just getting the Hulk in check.
Right.
I actually liked how Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes did it, where Banner effectively relinquishes himself to the Hulk
Mm-hmm.
in order for the Hulk to be a hero, because he knows that the Hulk isn't necessarily a complete monster, that he does want to help people in a sense, And the
Mhm.
Hulk's just like, you gotta do something for me. You know, you go away. And then Bruce is like, all right, but you gotta help people. And he does. And then like later, I think in season 2, Bruce gets 1 day a month where he can come out, which is
It's like a prison sentence in your own body.
well, I mean,
Well,
he agrees to it.
that's actually the fucked up thing that I love about the Hulk, and why I kind of think Disney, I, with Mark Ruffalo's Hulk, they just don't seem to get how much of a monster the Hulk is that they've set up since
Well,
Edward
they do have
Norton.
to sell this to teenagers too. It can't get too dark.
Well, it's
Well, I'm
not
not
even necessarily like how much the monster the Hulk is, but the Hulk is just a very he was what Bruce created to cope with his abusive upbringing, but like the Hulk can be a good person too.
I'm not
Right.
doubting that, but in Avengers we were told he tried to fucking kill himself.
Yeah, because he was still like kind of like at conflict with that, but I do.
Yeah. Well, hey
It's
fellas, I'm getting sign waved down by the
yeah,
wife. I got to jump.
yes.
But it was fun, and let's do it in
Yep.
another few weeks.
Would you like to quickly
Awesome.
plug yourself so you can?
Yeah, my name's Connor. I run a YouTube channel named Counterpoints. I'm a science fiction, political, and philosophy nerd, particularly a Warhammer 40k nerd. I do love talking about it, and I love the universe. If you want to check out that kind of stuff, type in Counterpoints common spelling into YouTube. We just broke like 27k, and my most popular content is 40k stuff. So check out the Warhammer playlist. I also
I
do political rants. Sorry, go ahead.
I have subscribed, by the way, to you, so just wanted
Thanks,
to.
I
buddy.
think we're both
Yep.
subscribed.
Nice. Then, yeah, and then also I do political essays as well. So if you're into politics or debates, I normally do a political debate live stream on Fridays, and or go over some drama of the week on Fridays. And I also have political essays in there as well. We'll probably be splitting up the channels eventually, but for now we're gonna keep it all in one thing. So yeah, I appreciate you
Hey,
guys having me, and I hope you have a great day.
You
have a
too.
great day, Connor.
All right, bye y'all.
Jake, you go ahead.
I am Jake the Surgeon, but the surgeon is spelled wrong because I am a product of the American education system. I do media reviews and sometimes memes, and I'm one of my memes like technically went viral, so that's always nice. Um,
What
you can
upcoming projects do you have?
I have hopefully technically 2, but the one I'm working on like right now is I'm going to be reviewing the first live action Guyver film. Don't worry, White, I won't force you to watch it yet. And I'm going to be comparing it to the source material, not in terms of showing how the source material does things much better. And I'm not trying to say bad adaptation means bad product, because I don't ascribe to that. It's just one of those things where it is previous source material, so there is that thing where you should
I-
be at least
I'd
somewhat
argue.
faithful.
I'd argue that if the source material is just that damn good, just do it. Like
Yeah, yeah.
there's something like Lord of the Rings is a classic example. Lord of the Rings, for the most part, is just that damn good that yeah, you could just put that on screen. The only exception being Tom Bombadil.
And I'm not saying like Guyver is on par with Lord of the Rings, but because like in the 2005 anime, they changed some things. They even cut out like a section of the story. I think it was when the main character's arm. It was either hand or arm because it got ripped off. The suit can regenerate limbs and stuff, but it got ripped off, and then it became a clone of himself, and they cut that out of the 2005 anime, which I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see that. And they like gave the one of the basically they made the second, because there are 3 Guyvers. The Guyver 2 gave him a more prominent role in the anime as kind of that first boss figure, as opposed to I think they canned him in like the first couple issues of the manga, but I would need to reread the early manga to get it. But back to the thing where I'm comparing it to the source material, because it makes changes and significant changes, some of which I understand and I don't mind, others of which it's like there's no reason to, and I'm going to kind of like compare them to them, and then I'm going to start doing a series probably on a different channel. I don't know when it's going to be completed, but I'm going to be doing on Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. I'm going to be doing kind of like it's what this guy called Hard Leg Joe kind of does on Twitch, except it's going to be like edited and narrated and scripted and whatnot, where I climb ranked with with a deck, it's not going to be necessarily a rogue deck. It might be a meta deck to see how my monkey brain can handle it. Because I'll admit, I'm not that great at playing the game. However, so I'm just going to see how far I can get.
Alrighty then. So we'll see you guys in the next part of this Warhammer special. Insert DBZ music here. Bye.
Bye.